Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar, and I hope you're doing well. If we haven't met or talked before, my name is Nguyen, and I'm a product manager in a team called SOC Customer Experience Engineering team here. Just really happy to be here. This is one of our very first sessions, right, on the transition to the unified platform training. So we have a lot of exciting things to cover in today's session. And with me today is my wonderful colleague, Naomi Christie. Naomi, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi guys, hi everyone. And as she mentioned, I'm Naomi Christis, and I will be your co-host for today.
All right, so for today's session, what we're going to talk about is really, yes, the transition to the unified platform. And we're going to start with an overview of the unified platform, kind of explain a little bit of what it is and our vision and thinking behind its creation, right? And we're also going to share some of the best practices for the key areas, along with demos, to help you make a successful and smooth transition to the unified platform. And the areas that we're going to cover will include the onboarding experience, alert and incident correlation, automation, advanced hunting, and other feature areas. And oh, by the way, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We have an amazing team here in the chat that will help us monitor and answer the questions while Naomi and I focus on the presentation.
Okay, so as she mentioned, we will begin with an overview of the Unified SecOps platform. So let's take a look at what we are actually unifying. It all starts with a foundation of global threat intelligence. So this intelligence is built by human researchers and AI who analyze trillions of signals a day to create that understanding of the threat landscape. These foundations allow us to understand what attackers are doing, and then we turn this knowledge into out-of-the-box, real-world detections that help protect you. Next, we focus on our posture layer to ensure that you can harden your environment and have visibility in what needs to be done. And this isn't just passive protection. It also includes active analysis of incidents and attack paths, looking at how attackers could get from breach points to critical assets. We help prioritize these gaps and even provide simple instructions to fix them. On top of that, post-breach. Our threat detection and responses combine the depth of XDR and the breadth of SIEM to pull in information from your entire organization. So this gives you full visibility across the entire attack chain, integrating multiple layers of the security domains. Finally, we top it off with cybersecurity-specific AI, so automations that help disrupt attacks and also help save your analysts time by providing recommendations and much more. We integrate capabilities across the entire life cycle of threats in virtually every domain and platform. We are heavily investing in expanding our support for all major cloud platforms, ensuring that we have that multi-cloud support as well as on-premise support. This helps give us that 360 view of all attack surfaces across different operating systems, regardless of whether the attack occurs on a server, endpoint, or mobile device. We will deliver a cross-domain SOC experience. And for the past year, we have been really focusing on integrating Sentinel into our unified vision. And just to make sure we're all on the same page, before the release of the unified view, we had to work in two different portals. We had the Microsoft Sentinel portal, which is located in the classic Azure portal, and we had the Defender portal. Both are very strong products with amazing capabilities and many connections between them, but they were in two different places. And that's why we introduced the unified SecOps portal. Now, this slide perfectly illustrates the benefits of the unification of both portals. So why should you transition? Well, first and foremost, we heard for many years that working with multiple portals is a struggle. To triage an incident, you would start in the Sentinel portal, then pivot back to the Defender portal for more information on XDR incidents, and then finally, you might return to the Sentinel portal to close the incident. And this involves multiple hops between portals. And many of you requested a single portal for your security services to monitor, manage, detect, and respond to your incidents. And we provide that single view by bringing your SOC operations team into the Defender XDR world. This is a significant step because traditionally these teams are separated, right? So you typically have the SOC team, the XDR team, and then the underlying Defender teams. And now we bring them together, which results in getting that comprehensive instant view with a full attack story. You won't need to click multiple times or switch portals. You get the single attack story and the combination of SIEM and XDR in one portal, with Sentinel having its own navigation piece on the left-hand side. So let's just highlight some of the benefits. First, all incidents from Sentinel and other Microsoft first-party products are integrated into this unified SecOps view. Advanced hunting is also now in one place. We have case management, which helps with handling multiple incidents in a single case. We have significant improvements on SOC optimizations, where we now provide a unified coverage view so that it allows you to see coverage metrics for Sentinel detection and first-party detections, such as MDO and MD. And actually, the integration also goes beyond Sentinel, right? For example, we also integrate with exposure management, which helps improve the graph experience because we incorporate that attack path that I talked about in the beginning. That attack path, we integrate it into the investigation graph. And we won't discuss the embedded Gen AI Copilot for security in detail in this webinar, but I just want to re-highlight that it's also part of the unified portal. But I think that's enough with a high-level talk. Let's dive into the different aspects and best practices. And let's start at the beginning, right, with the onboarding to the unified portal. Chi, take it away, please.
Awesome. Thank you, Christy. So now onto the fun part, or the practical part, right? Best practices. So with this section, we're going to dive into each of the key areas to highlight the best practices to make sure that you have what you need to successfully transition to unified platform. And really starting with the very first step to be able to leverage these amazing benefits of the unified platform. First thing first, we need to make sure that we can connect and onboard Microsoft Sentinel Workspace to Defender Portal. The goal for us is to make sure that we will have all the Microsoft Sentinel data and capabilities available in to access right from the Defender Portal itself. So now the process of onboarding and connecting Sentinel Workspace is pretty straightforward. However, there are some prerequisites that we need to be aware of before we can start connecting the workspace. So the first thing here is that we need to be aware is, well, yes, we need to have a Sentinel workspace, right? Which is basically a log analytic workspace that has Microsoft Sentinel enabled. The second thing here is we need to have a data connector for Microsoft Defender XDR, and the connector must be properly configured. And I'm going to show that here through a demo. This is to make sure that we have all the incident and alerts connected. And lastly, we need to have the right permissions and roles, to onboard and connect Sentinel Workspace to Defender Portal. And I do want to highlight that and reiterate what Naomi had mentioned earlier, is that the unified portal is now open to all Microsoft customers, including those who don't have an E5 license, and which means that they can also onboard Sentinel, the Sentinel Workspace to to the unified platform, even without having Defender's product. So yeah, so this is an awesome benefit, and I highly recommend that you take advantage of. So on to the next one, getting into the process of onboarding Sentinel itself. So when it comes to configuration of Defender XDR connector, there are 3 things to note here. First is need to make sure that not only the data connector is connected, right? We need to also make sure that it's configured correctly. And by that, we mean that to turn off the Microsoft incident creation rule before we connect this incident and alert, right? As shown in the screenshot here, this is to avoid creating duplications of incident and alerts that come from Defender products. And to perform this step, either a global admin or a security admin role is required on the workspace tenant level. Okay. When it comes to the required roles and permission, right now, assuming that we already have Defender XDR connector properly configured, we need to have certain roles and permissions in order to connect the Sentinel workspace to Defender portal. And you can choose either of these, permissions combination, either subscription owner, right, and Microsoft Sentinel contributor, or you can be user access administrator on the subscription and have Sentinel contributor role. And please note that for Sentinel, for Microsoft Sentinel contributor, you can have it either on a subscription or resource group or a workspace resource level. Okay, all right, so on to the demo. I just wanted to quickly mention that this is a pre-recorded demo and we're going to talk over it. So Christy can start. So there are 2 entryways, right, to connect and onboard Sentinel to Defender, starting here from the home page and select a workspace that you want to connect to Defender and click on next. And we're going to see some text and that we can expect to see when the workspace is connected. And the second option is to start from settings page, right? Click on Microsoft Sentinel. We see all the workspaces that you have access to. And now in this case, I wanted to choose a workspace where we haven't got the Defender XDR connector enabled and configured yet, right? So in this case, we will see this error message on the top, here, that couldn't connect the workspace, right? And we need to go turn on the Defender connector for incidents in Microsoft Sentinel first. So here, navigate to Azure portal, in Content Hub, search for XDR connector or solution in this case. And here I already have the solution installed in the workspace, and navigate to Data Connector and clicking on Defender XDR connector and open the connector page. Then we're going to see all the prerequisite and the configuration steps, right? So in this case, we already have the connect, incident, and alerts already configured. So the connector already configured properly. So now back to Defender portal settings page, then we can select the workspace and connect the workspace, yeah. And here there are some notes that kind of tell us what to expect when the workspace is connected, like things like the data, the queries from Sentinel is going to be available for advanced hunting in Defender XDR, and click on Confirm and Proceed. Now connecting the workspace, this step itself will take up to 5 minutes. So, if you see this, don't panic, right? Just be a little patient. And once the workspace is connected, we should see the status. So switch to connected from not connected. So it takes a little bit of time to port all the capabilities over. Yep, there you go. So there's a little green dot there next to connected. So now it signals that all the Sentinel data and capabilities are now available for us to access from within the unified portal. Awesome. All right, so yeah, so that's about the demo, right? And we do have a really common question that customer asks us, when they work through this process is related to RBAC. The question here is, once a Sentinel workspace is onboarded to the unified SOC platform, will my Sentinel users will be able to see everything from Defender XDR? So the answer here is it depends. But because a user's access to the data in the unified portal would depend on the workload-specific RBAC, right? So what it means is if the user already have, let's say if they have Sentinel access already, but they don't have access to Defender, right, to any Defender workloads, then they won't be able to see and query any of the Defender data in the unified platform. And for them to be able to view and access the data in Defender or unified platform in this case, they must have the permission to the specific Defender workloads, right, that they allow to access to. And also keep in mind that the Sentinel RBAC and Defender RBAC are assigned and managed separately. And we do have, really clear documentation that kind of outlines what permission that you need to be able to access the data, both Sentinel and Defender data in the unified platform. So I highly recommend checking out the documentation if you want to learn more.
Okay.
All right.
Moving on to correlation. Now, before we discuss correlation and what changes for Sentinel customers, moving to the SecOps platform, let's first agree on the definitions of alerts and incidents. What are alerts? Alerts are the basis of all incidents, and incidents cannot exist without alerts. Alerts are usually part of a broader attack, but individually an alert indicates a malicious or suspicious event in your environment, and it can originate from different threat detection activities. What are incidents? Incidents are containers for collections of related alerts, and they really tell the full story of an attack. The alert in a single incident can come from a Microsoft security solution, or it can come from an external solution collected through Microsoft Sentinel and Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Now, if we agree on that definition, then we can now understand that incidents are formed by related alerts. We have seen that a lot of customers use isolated systems with separate teams to manage the different security domains. Think of teams for an endpoint, think of a different team for identity, emails. However, in that case, each team lacks the context of the others, which will make it more difficult to discover and respond to threats. And that's why we automatically correlate alerts into incidents to help you get that bigger picture. Now, of course, if an alert is sufficiently unique across all alert sources within a particular time frame, we will create a new incident and we will add the alert to that new incident. But if the alert is sufficiently related to other alerts, then we will add the alert to an existing incident. And also important to know is that the correlation activities don't stop when incidents are created or merged. We continue to detect for commonalities and relationships between incidents and alerts across incidents. And when incidents are sufficiently alike, we will also merge them. Also good to remember is that when incidents are merged, the content of one incident is migrated into the other one, and the original incident is then automatically closed and will no longer be available in the portal. So that's when you get your reference to redirected or merged incident. Now, we create incidents which represent larger attack stories. And the force behind this grouping of alerts in incidents is our correlation engine. The correlation engine merges incidents when it spots common elements between alerts. And I just wanted to touch on the most common reasons for merging. So we merge when entities are similar. Think of the same user showing up in alerts or devices or mailbox. We merge when artifacts overlap. Think of files or processes. And of course, time frames are also an important condition. We don't want to merge ancient incidents with new alerts. And for example, sequence of events is another thing that we keep track of. So sequence of events can point to a multi-stage attack, which are of course also a good reason to merge. Think of someone clicking a malicious email event, which was preceded by an alert about a phishing campaign. Now, we've talked about why and when we merge, but it's also just as important to know when we don't merge. So if one of the instances is marked as closed, we won't merge because we don't reopen resolved instance. And I want to really emphasize this point since it is crucial. We will not reopen closed instance when correlating. We also don't merge if the incidents are assigned to two different people. And I mean that literally, two different assigned entities. So if one incident is assigned and the other one is not yet assigned, then these two could merge. If the incidents have different classifications, so one is classified as true positive and the other one as false positive, then we will also not merge automatically. And if the merging would cause the result to exceed the allowed maximum number of entities, in that case, of course, we will also not merge. And last reason is when the two incidents contain devices in different device groups, we will also not merge, but you have to configure this one. Now let's dive into the portal to show you what I've actually been rambling about. When we go into the investigation section, we can already see the distinction between alerts and incidents. Let me quickly. Okay, logged in. So we see the distinction between alerts and incidents. So let's skip the alert section for now, and you can explore it in your own environment later. Instead, let's go straight into the incident queue. Now, the incident queue is one of our selling points of the unified portal because it provides that unified view of incidents from your SIEM and XDR. So you can see in the detection source column which source has created this incident, where it originates from, so like EDR or scheduled detection. Now, what happens when alerts are correlated? To make this point clearer, I will manually relink an alert. So we have this incident called anonymous IP with the tag to merge and an entity Naomi Christis and one alert. And we can move this one to the suspicious cron job, for example, with also the tag also to merge an entity, which is lab 192. Now, we can easily move this alert by clicking the Move Alert button. And this can be easily done from the incident queue itself. And you can move it to another incident, for example, 38. Which is the instance that we want to move the alert to. Now, I can give you a scoop because real soon you will actually also be able to merge incidents. So if I click those two instances, you see the button Merge Instance come up. So let's try out this new feature and let's merge these two instances. So let's say merging for demo purposes. And now also notice we ask for feedback here. So this feedback feature is also not yet available in your environment, but it soon will be public. And this feature actually allows us to collect your feedback on correlations, which help us improve the correlation engine. Now, while this is merging, and it's already done, but let's focus first on a multi-stage attack. So we have this multi-stage incident, which is an automatically correlated incident. And as you can see immediately in this view, we have the incident with a detailed timeline of the attack with all the alerts. And we also have that interactive graph, which allows you to easily recognize patterns. Now, to understand why alerts were merged, you can also go to the Alerts tab in the incident itself, and then look at the correlation reason column. So this column explains why the alerts belong to this instance. So this feature is actually also not yet available, so you are getting another scoop, but soon this will be public, so it should be fine. Now, as you can see, most of the alerts are linked because they originate from the same device or IP address, so that's why they were merged. And this is basically, I have the same reasons over here because I launched multiple attacks in a very short time from one of my VMs in this demo environment. Now let's go back to the overview. And let's revisit our manually merged incident, right? So as you can see, the incidents have merged. We now have multiple tags, the two original tags, and the entities have also been merged. So we see Lab 192 and Naomi Christis. And then another scoop, I keep on giving good news. We will also now correlate comments. So if you check the activity tab, you can also already notice that that you have comments from the original instance and the ones from merged instance. So you can easily see which ones originate from where. And then last scoop, and then I really have to stop. I want to mention that we will also have this feature which allows you to filter the activity logs from one incident or from the merged incident. But let's stop now with the scoops before I get into trouble. Oh, before I forget, I'd like to also invite you to next week's What's New webinar, because Jeremy and I will also be delivering a demo on some useful recent features. And then these scoops are old news, of course. All right, let's wrap up the correlation section, just also by answering some common questions we've heard. And if you have any more questions, please feel free to put them in the chat like Chi mentioned. We have an amazing team answering the questions. Now, first question, what happens to Fusion? Well, once you onboard to the Unified SecOps platform, the Fusion rules you might remember from Sentinel will be disabled and will no longer be available. This is because the correlation engine will now handle all correlation responsibilities and you're actually getting an upgrade. So with the correlation engine, we consider many additional factors for merging. So yes, Fusion disappears, but you get the correlation engine, which serves the same purpose, but they do it better. Next question, what happens to alert grouping? Well, when correlation kicks in, alert grouping will not be taken into account because it conflicts with our strategy and vision of having that full attack story in one single incident. I know that in Sentinel, you could configure alert grouping in your analytic rules. Now, in my experience, this feature wasn't used that much, but for those who are using it, you might notice that when correlation kicks in, we might override the alert grouping if we see alerts or incidents belonging to the same attack story. Now, if alert grouping, sometimes we saw that it was being used because you have different teams that look solely at specific alerts or incidents. But this approach can create gaps like we discussed, right? So because you are focusing on certain alerts, you might not get the full picture. But for those customers who want different teams managing different alerts, we suggest assigning the alerts to those specific teams or persons, as you can see in the screenshot. And if you really don't agree with the correlation, you can always move the alerts as well, as I demonstrated in the demo, and give us feedback. And if you have another use case for using alert grouping that we might have missed that we should know about, then please feel free to reach out to us so that we can learn from your experience. Now moving on to automation. Chi, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Naomi. So let me share my screen here so then we could kind of easily navigate since I'm going to have some demo as well. Just give me a second. Okay, so Let's start with automation. Trying to navigate Teams and share the screen. Okay, so share. Just double checking if you can see my deck. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So yeah, automation. Let's start talking about that. So automation is really one of the key feature areas that used by our Microsoft Sentinel customers today. But if you're not familiar with the automation capabilities, and just to give you a quick overview here, automation, as the name indicates, right, it provides automated workflows to enable SOC teams to automate repetitive tasks, right, to speed up incident investigation and hunting. And ultimately, it frees up analysts' time to so that they can focus on what matters most and more complex tasks, right? And automation also enables customizable workflows to meet unique organizational needs. And then on to some of the best practices that I think are really relevant in our case when it comes to transitioning from Microsoft Sentinel to the unified platform. So a couple items that I wanted to highlight here. The first one is around the automation rule condition. So if you already set up and configure your automation rule, and you may have existing rule that has that filter incident based on the title or incident tags, right? Then the best practice here or recommendation is to update that to analytics rule name in the condition, right? So here we have a screenshot on the right that kind of show you where the condition and the the condition name that we need to select in this case. The reason for it is, as Naomi kind of explained earlier, correlation, once correlation kicks in, incident title may change, right? So you that means that it's not a consistent or constant kind of a value that we can rely on for the condition. So instead, using analytics rule name, because it doesn't change regardless of the correlation scenarios, then the correlations should work as expected, right? The second item that I wanted to mention regarding best practice here is also related to the condition in automation rule. So you may, if you have automation rule that already configured in Sentinel on Azure, you may remember that there was a condition called incident provider, right, where you can filter, and they have two options, either Microsoft Sentinel or Microsoft Defender XDR as another condition filter value. Now, let's keep in mind that this condition property already removed and been replaced by a new condition named alert product names. And this will give you more granularity and flexibility in terms of filtering on the specific detection sources, right? Whether it's come from DLP, data loss prevention, Defender for cloud apps, and so on. So you can see that on the right side we have a kind of a drop down of all the different products that are already integrated into the unified portal. So so this is the recommendation that using the alert product names in this case. Now, let's see a demo, see how it works in action. So I'm gonna pivot to my portal here. So so here we are in the security.microsoft.com, which is a unified portal, and navigate to Microsoft Sentinel, configuration and automation, right? So this is where you can find all the existing automation rules that you may have already configured, or you can create a new rule. So I kind of wanted to quickly show you the two conditions that I should mention earlier, right? The first one is analytics rule name, right? So if you have incident title or tag that you're using today to filter the incidents, the recommendation is to update that to analytics rule name. like we discussed earlier. And the second one is the alert product names, right? So we just need to type in and search for alert product names. Then you can see that here on the right side, the drop down, there's a list of all the different detection sources that you can filter for these conditions, right? So this is where you configure and kind of manage the automation rules today. I wanted to mention that Azure Logic app, which is, you know, the playbooks, right? The playbook that you may be familiar with in Sentinel are also available in the Unified Portal, and they should work as expected as well, similar to the automation rule. So we'll let it load for a minute. One thing that I want to mention that because the playbooks is built on Azure Logic app, and the Azure Logic app is a native Azure feature. So to view and author or update a playbook, right? If you have one already today, then it will route you to the Azure portal. If you can see that, you know, it's asked me to log in Azure portal. For the interest of time, we won't go through this process itself, but I kind of want to show you that this is the expected experience today. Yeah, so that is about the automations, and I wanted to kind of switch back to our deck here, and wanted to mention something, a very important area, which is API automation using the incident APIs, right? So you may have use cases where you need to synchronize incidents and alerts with the external ticketing system. So you're using API for this integration, right? And today there are two API where you can query and access the incident and alerts information. In Sentinel and Azure, right? You may know that Security Insights API is the API that you can still use today, and but the recommendation here going forward is using the Microsoft Graph API for any incident and alerts queries via API. The reason for it is because not only it contains all the alerts and entities details, it also gives you the kind of the more granularity in terms of the filter for the detection source, right? So you can see I have two screenshots here. On the left side, the Security Insights API. You can filter by provider name, but it's going to be pretty generic as Azure Sentinel. But if you want to kind of, you know, have more granular filter based on the detection sources, then you could specify the detection source name here, right? In this case, I have an example with Windows Defender ATP, or the old name for MDE, right? Using Graph API. So, you know, highly recommend, if you're not using Graph API today for incident and alert querying, then I recommend checking it out. We have documentation available as well. Okay, so then that will be our recommendations regarding the incident API with automation. And on to the next section, which is advanced hunting. So advanced hunting is also one of the key areas, the core areas, right, in the unified platform. And as you may know, that advanced hunting is native features in Defender, right? Defender suite. And in Microsoft Sentinel, you may be familiar with capabilities called logs, right? They are quite similar, but there are some difference, and I'm going to kind of show you where, you know, the common areas and where the differences are. So threat hunting, if you new here, right? Advanced hunting in the unified portal context is the query-based threat hunting tool that lets you explore the data for investigation, build custom detections and threat hunting. And with the unification of Sentinel capabilities and defenders, you can now query, you can now correlate data set, right, for both Sentinel and XDR tables, for custom detections, for investigation and hunting, and all the Sentinel, if you already have Sentinel queries that you save, sample queries and query functions that you already built and set up in Sentinel, they are all available in Advanced Hunting as well. And also, if you currently by default, the retentions in Advanced Hunting for Defender table is 30 days. But if you do need to retain the data for longer than 30 days, then keep in mind that the data ingestion is still needed for Advanced Hunting table in Sentinel. So I wanted to mention some of the best practices here related to Advanced Hunting. If you have any queries, right, whether it's detection, advanced hunting, or investigation, right, that rely on security alert table, keep in mind that this table is now replaced by the two table, alert info and alert evidence. So, recommend that you review any query that has that contain this table, reference this table, to make sure that it's not your queries won't break, right? And the second thing here to consider is if you do need to use to capture records from Advanced Hunting activities, right? To kind of dive deeper, or maybe raise that into an incident or bookmark it, right? To create a richer timeline and contextual information regarding incidents. The recommendation is to use link to incident functions, right? So here I have a screenshot to highlight the link to incident. So this capabilities is basically, it's very similar to the bookmark features that you may know and familiar with in Sentinel. It's not exactly the same, but for the purpose of capturing the records, right, and create a richer timeline, contextual information for regarding incidents, this will do the job. So maybe enough of me talking to the slide. I'm going to kind of pivot to the portal here to kind of show you the Advanced Hunting experience, right? So here we are back to the security.microsoft.com portal, and navigate to investigation and response, right? Click on hunting, Advanced Hunting, and here we are at the Advanced Hunting experience. So first thing first, I wanted to point out that all the table, the data in Sentinel, right, now available to access from Advanced Hunting, including the built-in Microsoft Sentinel table, and also custom logs table, yeah, all available in one place, right? So this is so convenient. That means that you can now build queries, right, for investigation and hunting that correlate both data set, both Sentinel and Defender data, and without having to ingest the Advanced Hunting table into Sentinel, right? So from cost optimization standpoint, it will save you the ingestion costs, right, of these Advanced Hunting tables. And please keep in mind that if you do need to retain the data for more than 30 days, then we do need to still need to ingest the data into Sentinel for that purpose. So here I have an example query, right, that I joined the two table where I have sign logs table, which is a Sentinel table, and device login events, which is a Defender table, and I have the joined operator right in between to join these two on specific criteria. I also have some filter criteria as well. I wanted to show you that yes, you can build a query, correlate the data sets between your SIEM and XDR all in one place. In this case, we do have a result from this queries. I already rerun. We have one result, and in this case, if this is, I find this interesting, and I wanted to bookmark this, right? I wanted to capture this record for further review. Then I have an option to link to incident in this case. Yeah. So once you click on link incidents, it's going to ask you to either create a new incident, or you can link to an existing incident. So that's a cool thing about it, right? In this case, this environment, I don't have access to perform this step. So, but I kind of just wanted to show you that there should be two options for you after you click to this one. Yeah, so this one, it does ask for more permissions, and I don't have that here. Another thing to take notice to, we do have an option to take actions, right? And also it's also required to have permissions. The action here could be things like isolate a device from the network if we know that this is a compromised device, right? Or disable users. There's a list of actions. I recommend checking out documentation for to see what specific action that you can take from here. So this is another benefit and an upgrade, right? Compared to the existing experience in log analytics in Azure experience. I wanted to mention another key area, which is the custom detections, right? From advanced hunting experience, we can create custom detections queries, yeah. And today there are two options for us to create custom detections. One is create analytics rule, which is a native feature of Sentinel, as you may know, and custom detection, which is a native defender feature, as you may know. Please keep in mind that we are actively working on enhancing and kind of improving the custom detection experience, so that you may see new capabilities coming up really soon, available in public preview, for you to build all these custom detections queries all from one place. But please note that before that happened, right, before the improvements for custom detections available, you can still leverage the analytics rule today. So nothing will break. It still work as expected. If you have any analytics rule that already created today, they should still work as expected. All right. I think I kind of mentioned all the key areas regarding the advanced hunting. So I think we could navigate back to our deck here. And we could wrap up this area with a commonly asked question. So a question here is, how would data retention work in advanced hunting in the unified portal, right? So as I mentioned earlier, if we ingest data just into the advanced hunting table today, retention is still set to 30 days by default, right? However, if you do need to retain the data for more than 30 days, then the recommendation is still to ingest the advanced hunting data into Sentinel. And when it comes to querying the data, right, that older than 30 days, then how it works is the first 30 days will be queried from the advanced hunting table, and any data that's beyond 30 days, right, is going to be queried from Sentinel. So that is something to keep in mind. All right, so then we do have, beside these core area that we mentioned earlier, right, the incident alerts, automation, advanced hunting, we do have other, equivalently important, right, feature areas that we wanted to show you. For the interest of time, because we have limited time, I'm going to kind of cherry pick some of the areas that I think are impactful, and with some changes that you may that we need to be aware of, right? So maybe to make it easy, I'm gonna pivot to back to our portal here, and starting with the workbook area. I wanted to show, maybe first of all, before we jump into the workbook, I want to show you that all the capabilities that you may know and familiar with in Microsoft Sentinel and Azure are all available in Microsoft Sentinel menu, right, on this navigation section. And when you expand that, right, you see that there's threat management, content management, configuration, that all these capabilities still exist today, still work as expected. Starting with the workbook. Workbook is essentially a tool for us to create dashboard for visualization and reporting purposes. And wanted to mention that all the workbooks that if you have workbooks that are already created in Azure, they still work as expected today. Something to note here is the viewing experience, right? Viewing workbook. You can view the workbook today in unified platform, like within this security.microsoft.com portal. No need to navigate to back to Azure portal. However, for adding, right, authoring the workbook or updating the workbook, it still routes us to Azure portal at the moment. Workbook is another capability that is native to Azure. So that is the reason why that it will take us to Azure experience. So that's something to keep in mind. For other features like hunting notebooks, threat intelligent MITRE, attack, right? These are all still available and works as expected. I do want to highlight a threat intelligence area though, because we do have a new home for this area. So the new home here is Intel Management, and either you can navigate it from here, right click on Open Intel Management, or you could navigate directly from the Threat Intelligence menu and go to Intel Management, and that's going to open up the Intel Management capabilities. Okay, so threat intelligence is really, I think it's one of the most essential areas, right? It's for SOC team to leverage. It enriches investigations with the latest insights on threats. And if you're using threat intelligence capabilities in Sentinel, then you may be familiar with this view, right? Where you here you can kind of think of that as a unified threat intelligence platform, right? Where you can manage and curate your TI feed. You can import, right, from external feed. You can manually add new TI object and TI relationships. So we do have quite robust TI capabilities available here. And I wanted to mention that, so this is a new home, right? New home, and this is built on the existing Sentinel TI capabilities. So going forward, this is where SOC teams can operationalize threat intelligence, especially for tier 2, tier 3 analysts, right? To be able to curate their TIs, attacking existing data, as well as generating new TI directly in the portal. All right, so that is about TI. Back to the Microsoft Sentinel menu here. So other capabilities including Content Hub, right, repository, community, and the configuration of data connectors, analytics rules, summary rules, watch list automations. These capabilities are all still available and work as expected today, right? All right, so I think that's pretty much it for our demo here. Let me pivot back to our portal, our slide here, to see if there's anything else that we need to cover. All right, with that said, I'm going to hand over to Naomi to talk about case management.
Thanks. So for the next two slides, I'll follow Chi, and I'll be showing the experience live in the portal instead of using the PowerPoint. So first, let's start by going into case management. And it's mentioned in the very beginning of this webinar, this is one of our selling points for you to move to the unified SecOps. With case management, you can better manage your security work from within the portal. In the first installment of this end-to-end solution, we help you work more efficiently and respond faster to attacks without leaving the SecOps portal by allowing you to create those cases. Currently, we support defining your own case workflow with custom values, with custom status values. So as you can see, needs to be assigned is a custom value. We can assign tasks to collaborators and configure due dates. We can handle escalations and complex cases by linking multiple instances to a case, and we help manage access to your cases using RBAC. So these are first steps in delivering a unified security case management experience, and this will help with rich collaboration, customization, evidence collection, and reporting across your SecOps workloads. Before we run out of time, let me quickly highlight another benefit I mentioned earlier, SOC optimization. SOC optimizations are recommendations, which will help you optimize your security controls. So these recommendations can help you reduce costs without affecting your SOC coverage, and they will assist in adding that extra value by saying which security controls you can improve and where you need more additional data, for example. So these are personalized because they are based on your environment's needs and your current coverage. Now for the selling point, for customers with a unified SecOps, we provide unified coverage view. This means that you will be able to see coverage metrics not only for Sentinel detection, but also for our first-party detections such as Microsoft Defender for Endpoint or Microsoft Defender for Identity. All right, let's get back to the slides and let's wrap up this webinar with a final frequently asked question that didn't quite fit into the previous section, so that's why it's a miscellaneous FAQ. If I'm a Sentinel-only customer without any XDR products, is there any benefit for me to start using the Unified SecOps platform? The answer is absolutely yes. Not only will you be able to take advantage of the power of the correlation engine, but you will also have a better experience with Copilot. And on top of that, some features like case management only appear in the Unified SecOps platform. So please feel free to test it out and experience the Unified portal for yourself. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you so much for attending the webinar. We really hope you find it useful and informative. And if you have any more questions or need further clarification, please don't hesitate to reach out. We are here to help you. And if you want more of these sessions, please let us also know. We always want to hear your feedback and understand what you need and try to help. Have a great day, and we look forward to connecting with you again. And maybe see you next week for the next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Chi and Naomi, for being our guests and for sharing the great information with our community. Also, thank you to the Q&A team who helped us with answering the questions and providing the resourceful information. To all the listeners still on the line, if you're someone who wishes to aid in the protection of the world from cyber threats and desire to have a say in shaping our strategies, blueprints, and recommendations, then we invite you to become part of our security community. Together, we can make a global impact. So join us at aka.ms/securitycommunity. This is also where you'll be notified about the upcoming webinars, events, and other announcements. For those of you who may have additional questions on the topic we just covered or other product-related questions, please feel free to raise them on our Microsoft Tech Community discussion space at aka.ms/Microsoft Sentinel Community. Thank you all for being part of our community and for joining us on these webinars. We hope to see you next time. Goodbye.